Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another evening of Asana Sana Yoga. Namaste. Welcome back to the studio. And for this evening, we are joining here tonight for our Yin Yoga class, which is absolutely my favorite class, mainly because instead of a more, invigorating flow, this flow is going to be a lot more restful, something that it is aimed to give you some good sleep right before you go to bed. So all of this flow, and I just want to make sure you can see, all of this flow will be performed here on the mat, on the seated, or if you would like, you can stay in your bed, however you would like to get yourself comfortable. This entire flow, since it is yin yoga, will be something that we're going to be doing on the mat. And then also too, because it is yin yoga, instead of traditional yoga where you hold an asana or pose for a few breaths or a couple of seconds, here we're actually going to hold things for a couple of minutes. So I highly encourage you to have a pillow or pillows if you'd like, a blanket, bolster, some blocks. You don't need any of those things, of course. You can totally just do all of this laying on the mat as well. But this is one of my favorite flows. So I really hope that you enjoy this flow this evening as we get started here in Shavasana Yoga. So let's take these first few moments of our class to get grounded. And if you have a pillow, perhaps you'd like to sit on your pillow or even on your blocks as well. Just get nice and comfortable. Sitting up high, let's cross our legs. And also let's take our legs and cross them over so that we can have our opposite legs on top so that we can create a balance in our body. Remember here, we're just going to hold into this pose, taking a deep breath, getting ourselves nice and aligned, setting our intentions for this class. Now you can rest your hands on your knees or on your thighs or in your lap, however you'd like. Not necessarily meditating, but it's all right to hold your hands in the mudra. And for an intention set for this class, I will share with you my intention set. I intend to lead you all through a wonderfully relaxing yin yoga class this evening, and I hope you all enjoy it very much. And I get to see you all again next Thursday at this time. So let's take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And let's return our breath to its natural rhythm as we feel ourselves completely grounded, ready to start our class. It doesn't matter what was going on before class started or what's going to go on after class starts, or it's likely if you're seeing this in a different time zone than Pacific. It doesn't matter what happened before you watched this recording or after watching this recording. This whole class is just for you to gentle with yourself, to relax, to return to your senses. So with that being said, let's get started. So you can continue sitting on your mat if you like, or you can shift yourself back down. You can take yourself off your pillow or sit directly on your mat. I'm going to move myself to sitting directly on my mat. We're going to come together, putting our soles together on our feet. And as you can see, I have on my fuzzy socks because, it's a lovely warm flow. I'm going to support my knees with blocks to come into Baddha Konasana or butterfly pose. And from here, we're just going to inhale, making sure we have that good postural alignment. We're going to make sure that we keep ourselves nice, our ribs over our hips, keep ourselves nice and settled. As we ease into this pose, keep breathing. So not so difficult for the first pose. It's really delightful. Although sometimes it can be a little difficult to sit in a yin yoga class as there is a lot of silence. There's a lot in your mind. But that's okay. You don't necessarily have to meditate, but if you'd like to, allow your mind to wander, letting it go. Just relaxing into the music. Allowing yourself to rest. Maybe feel your mind is wandering, getting lost in your thoughts. Just a gentle reminder to bring yourself back to your breath. Just sit casually in your butterfly pose, hands resting wherever comfortable. And from here, let's take our last inhale and exhale. Okay. Bringing our legs out, let's bring our feet flat on the ground. And this is going to be a simple move. We're going to go into our Supta Baddha Konasana, which is our supported reclined butterfly pose. So you're just going to take, and you might have to finagle it just a wee bit. You want to put your blocks on your mat, if you have blocks or a pillow. Just shape them in a way where you can drape your body over the back of them. So if you have a bolster, just placing it on the mat is fine. If you have a pillow, just a pillow, that's fine too. If you have blocks and a pillow, you may place the blocks so that's right at your hips, and you're just going to lean back into that butterfly pose, keeping the soles of your feet together, coming into Supta Baddha Konasana. Now, sometimes you might have to adjust it just a little bit. I find it easier to do this with a bolster, but no big deal. Feels really nice. And play around with the height a little bit. I like to give myself a moment or two to find my perfect position before I get nice and settled. All right. Seems to work perfectly. Excellent. Let's get ourselves nice and settled in. If this pose, because it is a hip opener pose, is a little bit too much to hold on your hips, you may extend your legs out or even support your hips with extra blocks or pillows if you have any, or even blankets. But if you like that, you want to expand that, you can go ahead and place a blanket over your knees to help open up your hips. From here, let's settle into our pose. I'm just going to extend my legs out just a little bit. I'm going to rest my hands by the side, taking a deep breath. And then nose out through the mouth. Let's relax into Supta Baddha Konasana, or supported reclining butterfly pose. Excellent. I always encourage others to listen to chakra music. In addition to, if I'm here live in class, I have music on, but if you're listening to this in the background, it's always fun to put on some sort of calming and relaxing music to hold while you're in your poses. Don't worry about the time. You leave that to me. And again, with a gentle reminder, if you find your thoughts start to wander, that's okay. Just draw your attention back to your breath, relaxing in this pose. All right, let's take our last inhale and exhale in this pose. Let's bring ourselves gently up to seated, turning to the side. Let's leave our pillow placement how it is already set up. We're just going to come to our knees here, and we're going to put ourselves into a supported child's pose. So adjusting as necessary, and this is absolutely yoga's choice. So if you like to do a wide-legged, you can certainly do a wide-legged. If you'd like to do a narrow, you definitely much so as well. If you'd like to, go ahead and do an extended. Again, yogi's choice. If you don't have pillows or you don't want to use pillows or blocks, you can stack your fists on top of one of another into a supported onto your third eye here so that you can hold yourself up in this supported pose. And I think I'll do that this evening here, seeing that I have a microphone. Or if you have blocks, you can also stack those as well. And I think I might end up stacking them. Yep, stacking works perfect for me. So let's settle down into your child's pose of choice. Let's go ahead and gently rest your hands, either your head on your hands or in your preferred position. And from here, let's take a deep inhale. Exhaling as we relax into the pose, coming into supported child's pose. Just breathe.
All right, let's take our last inhale and exhale in this breath. Take one more inhale as we exhale, coming up from our child's pose. I absolutely love this pose. Now, next one, if you're already in a wide leg child's pose, this pose is already halfway done for you. If not, you want to come to a tabletop and just extend your knees to the outside edge of the mat here. And you're just going to go ahead and if you need a block, go ahead and use your block. I'm going to put two here for me so that I can lean back on it. We're just going to come back into a supported saddle pose or into a complete saddle pose if you have the hip density. And we're just going to allow our head to drop back as we breathe into this pose. Holding here in reclined supported saddle pose. Let's take our last breaths in this pose as we inhale, exhale, bringing yourself up back into seated. Let's come back here, back into table talk here for just a moment. Feeling good here. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Wonderful. All right. Let's remove our blocks. And we're going to come into a laying down on our belly here. And if you'd like, you can totally put your pillow here flat on the mat or your bolster. No need for props. We're going to come down into our Sphinx pose, holding ourselves here with our forearms supporting ourselves on the mat as we gently inhale, exhale, relaxing into this pose, allowing ourselves basically to kind of sort of bend the other way for our legs at least. This is a nice fold. We'll hold here, keeping our breath, relaxing into the pose. And remember, while it's easy to allow ourselves to collapse in this pose, to kind of let your shoulders do a lot of the work, you want to make sure you roll the shoulders up and down, sending your shoulder blades down your back, keeping that good posture, allowing our elbows a bit and our core to do a little bit of the hard work there. You know, it's funny. Often in a yin yoga class, you think to yourself, how on earth can I hold myself in this position for 5 minutes? But if you think about it, when we're at home and lounging, and since a lot of us have been at home lately, working from home, how often do you hold yourself in a position that you shouldn't be holding in for long periods of time? Remember, this is your friendly reminder during everyday life to get up, move yourself around every few minutes. And a little movement in your body. All right, let's take that last inhale and exhale in this pose. Let's push ourselves back up, coming into seated or tabletop or kneeling. Let's shake out our arms here. It is a bit of a difficult pose to hold sometimes, so shake out our arms just a little bit. And from here, we're up and seated. We're going to come next into our Dragonfly Pose, which is a wide-legged head to knee or straddle fold. So just help your legs open, however far open as they can go. You can keep your knees popped if holding them up too much hurts, is not in your practice. And you can also use your blocks to kind of support yourself here. But what we're going to do is we're going to inhale ourselves up, exhale, turning to the right. Inhale once more and lifting from your hips. Exhale as you lean forward, bringing your head to your knee. Now, if you don't have your knees propped up, you have them flat on the mat, you can use your block on top of your leg to help as a support. We're going to hold here, breathing for about 3 minutes. So however you'd like to take your pose, let's hold here. Actually, I think I'll do it that way. Keep breathing. Let's take our last inhale and exhale in this pose. Let's inhale, coming up to seated here. And we're just going to switch sides. So however you had your pose before, I'm going to use a different hold, keeping my knees elevated by my blocks. I'm going to use my pillow. And coming in, we're going to inhale once more, those arms up in the side, lifting out of our hips. Exhale, coming forward into our Dragonfly Pose. Holding here and breathing. And don't forget about your breath. It's all right if you maunder. Just bring your breathing right back to your breath. Just bring your mind, right back to your breath. And let's take our last inhale as we come back up to seated. Let's keep ourselves in this position, however you'd like to keep your legs. I think I'm going to change my position up. I'm going to stack my blocks this time. We're going to come into a seated or a straddle, forward wide fold and straddle. This time it's going to be supported. So I'm going to use my 2 blocks here to support my forehead. But you're welcome to, if you flat down, go right for it. If you have a bolster, you can place a bolster over top of it, however works for you. So let's inhale our hands up, exhaling, coming down, placing our head on our blocks or a bolster or on the mat, however we'd like. Let's rest here in Dragonfly Pose. And let's take our last inhale and exhale in this pose. And as we inhale, slowly inhale ourselves up. Exhaling, shaking out of the pose, moving our necks around. Feeling good. All right, let's come into one of our last poses for the evening. So if you have a pillow, you can go ahead and place it down on the mat. You want this pillow, though, to not be any higher than your shoulders. So keep that in mind. From here, we're going to come into our supported bridge pose. So I like to do maybe just a little bit down from where I'm at. Just either pull yourself into a bridge pose here with the pillow at the top of your shoulders and support yourself that way. And come into the pose here where your hips are nice and supported by the blocks. If you don't want to use a pillow, you certainly don't have to. But I like to go ahead and use a pillow for my upper body. So let's settle ourselves in to this position here, making sure our feet are flat on the mat. Let's inhale our hands overhead, just really quick, lifting. Exhale them right back down. You can rest your hands on your belly or on the mat beside you. But let's inhale here as, believe it or not, we've reached the cool down phase of this very Chilean yoga class. So we're just going to hold here. Keep breathing. Opening up our sacral chakra, root chakra, opening up our heart. In this pose, let's inhale any love that we might need, that we might not have had shown to us today, or might not shown to us ourselves today. Let's exhale any extra love that you might have had today that you could give freely to others. Send it to someone with your exhale who might need it. But definitely inhale that love of the universe to yourself. And exhale any of that extra to those who may need it. And let's take our last inhale and exhale in this pose as we release. Just removing the blocks, coming down gently, twisting your legs a bit. Sometimes holding your spine in flexion like that can feel a little weird coming down. Easing yourself as we go ahead. Coming up. And let's keep the pillow, but let's remove our blocks. I know it can seem a little silly that we're coming into a cool down phase of the workout. Every yoga has a cool down. So from here, what we're going to do, and it doesn't matter which side you start with. I'm going to start with my left leg. Let's bend our left leg to the side here, as if we're going to come into butterfly. Taking the right leg, let's bend that also as well. Placing our left foot or right foot on top of that other thigh. Coming into these kind of cat pulling tail, because we're going to be pulling our tail here. We're going to inhale, exhale, laying back, or lay down and get your legs into this pose, and gently hold yourself into this twist. Now, if your legs don't come all the way flat or it's not very comfortable, you can always use a support to hold your legs into the twist as we come into cat pulling tail pose. Relaxing, letting our hips do their work as we hold here in this pose. This is nice. This feels like I'm in bed. Promise I won't go to sleep on you guys. And as a casual reminder, if you find yourself burying yourself in thoughts or your mind starts to race, it's okay. Just bring your mind back to your breathing. Just focus on breathing. It happens to the best of us. Then let's take our last breath in this pose, inhaling and exhaling. And now let's switch our legs around. Let's inhale our legs up. Exhale, switch. So whichever leg you had flat on before, placing the other on top of the thigh, coming into our twisted tail or cat pulling tail pose. And remember, go ahead and use your block if you need to support your leg in this pose. Some of us, it's not in our practice today to keep our legs flat on the ground. And for some of us, some legs are a little bit more flexible than others. So. There we go. And breathe. And let's take our last inhale, exhale into this pose. Let's inhale our legs out, removing the block if we're using them. Exhaling the feet flat down to the surface. Let's inhale our arms up overhead, giving ourselves a good body stretch. One last body stretch. As you exhale, let's relax and drop all of our limbs, coming in to Shavasana Pose, which is the name and title of this class, Shavasana Yoga. So here you are welcome to take your Shavasana in whichever position. Traditionally, it's on the back, but if tonight you're feeling, hey, I think I want to sit up, and you know what, I think I do too, go right ahead and take that pose sitting up. I'm going to actually sit mine here. So settle into our Shavasana pose, getting ourselves together. Let's take 3 deep inhales, exhaling through the mouth. Excellent. Settling into Shavasana, however you'd like to take it this evening. Just relax and breathe. And before we come up from our Shavasana this evening, I would like to read for you a passage from the Daily Stoic. Today's topic is the enemy of happiness. It reads, "It is quite impossible to unite happiness with a yearning for what we don't have. Happiness has all that it wants, and resembling the well-fed, there shouldn't be hunger or thirst." Epictetus. "I'll be happy when I graduate," we tell ourselves. "I'll be happy when I get this promotion, when this diet pays off, when I have the money that my parents never had." Conditional happiness is what psychologists call this kind of thinking. Like the horizon, you can walk for miles and miles and never reach it. You won't even get any closer. Eagerly anticipating some future event, passionately imagining something you desire, looking forward to some happy scenario. As pleasurable as these activities may seem, they ruin your chance at happiness here and now. Locate that yearning for more, better, someday, and see it for what it is, the enemy of your contentment. Choose it or your happiness. As Epictetus says, the two are not compatible. And with that, I invite you to take a deep breath through your nose and out through your mouth. As we start to wrestle ourselves out of our Shavasana, I encourage you to invite movement into your toes, into your fingers. You roll your ankles and your wrists, shaking your arms, rolling your shoulder, shaking your legs, allowing movement to come back into your body any way it knows how. And if you can, with your eyes still closed, let's roll to one side as we gently hold ourselves here in this pose, cradling our head in the nook of our arm. Let's push up here, meeting me here in easy seat, in Sukhasana, and seated. And with your eyes still closed if possible, let's inhale our hands up overhead, grasping them at the top, exhaling, bringing our hands down into prayer pose, and flutter your eyes open if you haven't already. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me for our Yin Yoga class this evening. I hope you very much enjoyed it, and I hope you feel ready and rested to drift off into La La Land as we extol the night away sleeping. So, as always, I will see you all next week at 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here in the Asana Sana Yoga studio, moxie.xyz. And as I like to leave you all with the saying, be the light that you wish to see in the world. See the light that you wish to see in the world because, oh yeah, it definitely exists. Have a good rest of your evening and a wonderful weekend. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Have a good night, everybody. Good night. Good night, everyone. Good night.